Every year, tennis players from around the world compete for excellence, triumphing against all odds to emerge the champions. I'm your host, Madi Harrison. Join me as I get up close and personal with these dynamic individuals and find out what it takes to go for greatness. Let's go beyond the match. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Match. I'm your host, Madi Harrison. Today's guest is a special one. Paolo Lorenzi is not only a friend, but a tennis legend. He's known for his work ethic, his positivity, and tons of epic tennis matches that led him to a career high of 33 in the world. Since retiring at the 2020 US Open, he's moved into various roles within the sport. He's the tournament director of the ATP World Tour Finals and the Rome Masters 1000. He's a broadcaster and commentator, and last but definitely not least, he recently became a father. Paolo, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Beyond the Match.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the kind words, Madison. I'm really happy to be here, to be guest in this podcast. And we are good friends, but also I'm ready and I love to be guest today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm honored. So, Paolo, tell me, how would you describe yourself as a tennis player?
Oh, that's the first one is already a good question. I think that's like tennis player, what I was trying to do is to do my best every time I was going on court. So I don't think that I was one of the most talented players, but I think I was one of the players that was trying to practice a lot, to improve day by day. So I think my work ethic was really good, and that was helping me to reach the top 15 world. That I think was Paolo like tennis player.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you say that you were just trying to be your best every single day, how would you go about setting goals for yourself?
I think that I was very lucky because when I was 17, I started to work with a mental coach that he helped me a lot because after a few years he became a friend. And I think with him, we made a little work that the idea was one day, of course, to play the Grand Slam, then was to reach the top 70, then the top 50 in the world. But like every child, when the first time that I started playing tennis, my dream, my goal was to be number one in the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What point in your career did you start working with a mental coach?
I was actually very young because I was not even 17, and my father was a doctor too, and he thought that a mental coach can help during a sports life because sometimes there is some moments during the match that you have to be focused, you have to be concentrated, and I think we made a great job because the mental coach helping me only on court. We never work on things outside of tennis. Our goal was to improve my concentration, was to improve my effort during practice. So I think that this kind of work, I think, is very helpful for a sportsman.
Absolutely. That makes me think, do you think that your concentration and your effort during practice has to be the same as whenever you're playing matches?
I think that this is really an important thing where some players have to work on, because I believe that if you have a good intensity, if you are focused and concentrated in practice, then it's going to be easier to do that during the match. Of course, during the match, you're going to have more energy, you are focused on winning, but if you keep having this focus and this concentration during the practice, I think it's going to be easier than during the match. It's like if you start, throwing the rackets during every practice, then you're going to do that also during the match. If you never do that, it's difficult that then you're going to do it during a match.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that your mindset outside of tennis and just like towards life in general translates into tennis too?
I believe that. I think that was like a change, something that I tried on court, then I used in the normal life, and something that worked during the normal life, I try to use on courts. I think at the end, because you play, and sometimes you're still playing some tournaments, you know how is it that the players try to do something during the match and then using for the normal life, but sometimes your character, what you do normally, also is helping you during the match.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree with that too. So I'm curious, whenever people saw your name against you in a draw, what do you think went through your opponent's head?
Okay. Some opponents, when I stopped to play tennis, of course, we talk about that, and they knew that I was fighting. I was ready to fight a lot. That I was running a lot, and I, I know that in mind they know that I have to fight until the end to beat me, and I think that this is something important. They know that I was not ready to give up. I was ready to fight every point. And when some players know that, it's already a big advantage for you. I think that I won some matches because the other one thought they have to fight too much to beat me. And I think this one was helping me a lot.
No, absolutely. It's almost like whenever they saw your name, they probably already mentally were fatigued before they even step on court. I'm curious, was there a moment in your career that you felt like it was a breakthrough moment for you?
Okay, I think when I was almost 27 years old, because I started to play Challenger when I was pretty young. When I was 19, 20, I started to have pretty good ranking because I was close to the top 100 in the world, and I started playing Challenger. But then for 6, 7 years, my ranking was not improved enough. I still was between 170 and 250, and I never have doubt. I think this was the most important thing that I did. I thought that I can be a top 100 tennis player, that I can become a real pro, because in tennis we think that the pro is when you play major in the Grand Slam. So at 27 years old, I changed everything. I changed coach, fitness coach. I moved to another city. I found a new coach, a new fitness coach. And from that moment, we start the year 210 in the world, and we finish the year 82. I think to change with them, that was my breakthrough. But the real difference was to believe that still I was 27, but I still have the chance to become a top 100 in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And even beyond that, there was so much still to come in your career even later. But I'm curious, at 27, when you made that coaching change and fitness coach change, what were some of the specifics that you guys worked on?
Okay, I start to work even more than what I did, because we start working. My normal day was wake up, of course, in the morning, then 2 hours tennis, then we did 1 hour and a half fitness, then another 2 hours tennis, another 2 hours in the gym, and then we were doing all massage and all the other things. So we start working really hard. We didn't play tournaments for almost 12 weeks, so we stopped almost 3 months because we thought that we need to improve the serve.
What time of year was that?
Yeah, because the idea of the new coach was that I have to be more aggressive. I have to step more on court, to do more things, because before that I was running a lot, but I was very defense player. Then with him, I start to try to be at least more offensive. My playing was not really offensive, but we work a lot during the career. And I think these steps that 12 weeks was really big change, because with the new fitness coach and the new coach, we change a lot of things.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. So when you took those 12 weeks, what time of year was it? Was it the typical tennis off season, or was it during the year?
No, I changed coach when it was October. So mid of October. Okay. From that on, we stopped until Australia. So we did all October, November, and December. And I went to another city. The strange thing was that for the first time in the last 7-8 years, I practiced with the guy of the club. I didn't practice with pro on some big players. So I practiced guy from the club that was playing tournaments for fun. They were studying at university. So now I laugh when a lot of parents, they think that his kids has to play with only with good players. If it's not, he cannot improve. Because that year I was 200 in the world. I played with guy that went to university, they play for fun, and then I finished 80 in the world. So I think it's more important the coach, your ethic, and how you work on court than really sometimes the guy that you practice on.
That's such great advice. So as you said, you broke top 100 for the first time when you were 27. It wasn't for another 7 years, though, when you were 34, that you won your first ATP Tour title in 2016 at Kitchfield. What was that moment like for you?
I think that one was the best moment for the career, because I think that when you arrive at the big tournaments later, for me, every time I played the 250, 500 or whatever, for me was like a gift. Because for many years I tried to play that kind of tournaments, and I was losing in quali. I didn't have the chance to play the main draw. So every time I stepped in on court, for me was was a gift. In that tournament, I was there with my best friend, so was something really special, because he's a tennis coach too. We start playing tennis together. We know each other when we was 2 years old. So to have him in the bench and won the tournament, I think, was really one of the best moments in my career.
Yeah, that's incredible. What was the atmosphere like? What was the crowd like?
Was amazing, because I had a lot of friends that they came to watch that match, because it was 6 hours by car from Italy. It was not too far, because I played in Austria, and was full. And it's something I remember, because that day I knew that was my chance. I already lost 2 finals sets, so I had this memory. And sometimes you have the feeling that you step in on court and you feel that the day you're gonna win the match. I know you for sure you had it. And this was one of the day, and I remember everything. I think I really enjoyed that day, and I for many things I think I'm lucky that I became a pro when I was old in sports life, because I think everything you do, something like you feel a little bit more. I think I have really good memories.
Yeah, it's like you can just be more grateful for it at that point. How did you celebrate?
You celebrate more, because you think that maybe it's going to be the last chance. Every time you step on court, you never know if you're going to be there the next year. So, you are 34, 35 years old. People already stopped playing tennis. I think was something special, because every moment I did a warm up with my friend, because I thought it was a moment to remember for both of us. There are a few things that I will always remember and bring with me.
So special. How did you guys celebrate after the win?
Of course, was one of my problems, because after that I won that tournament, we celebrated a little bit, because then I was ready for the next one. Already during the night, I went to play a challenger, actually, 100,000, wow. Because for me the idea was always to improve the ranking and everything. So I think if you stop too much thinking, then you lose time. So my idea is to go on court as soon as I can. So after I won the 250, I went to play a challenger, and I was ready to do that, because I think that now you have to be ready for playing every kind of tournaments. Maybe sometimes this one for me was a mistake, because sometimes you need rest, but I love to play tennis, and for me playing tournaments was my dream. So every time I I was trying to play as much as I can.
From a mental perspective, what was it like going from the final of an ATP 250, then going back down to a challenger? Were you still on the hype from the ATP and from your win? Or what was that mentally like?
I think that I have a lot of passion for tennis. So, of course, you prefer to play finally in 250 or in a big tournament because that's the dream. When you are a child, you dream to play in the big stadium. But for me, it was important to play matches, to go on court, try my best, and I really enjoy the competition. The year that I finished 82 in the world, that I started when I was 210, I started the year playing Future in Ivory Coast, in Africa. I start to play with that kind of tournaments, and then I finished playing a main draw in ATP. But for me, was the same. The idea was to go on court, playing a match, and try my best. I think this kind of mentality helped me a lot during the season because after that I finished 8th in the world. Like every tennis player, I went back a little bit. The year after, I went back to 130, 140 in the world. But for me, it was not a problem to play challenger and not a big tournament. I had my goal, and I think this one is important. That you don't have to play always the big tournament, but you have to be ready at the tournament that you deserve in that moment. If your rank is not good enough, before you have to win the small tournaments.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just like the love for the sport is there. And that makes me also think about types of motivation. And it sounds like you're just very internally motivated to keep playing. Do you think that that's key for pro tennis players? Or do you think that some people can still be super successful, even if their motivation is like external and all the other perks that come with it?
I always think that not only in tennis, but in every sport, if you talk with the best one in the world, sometimes they use the word obsessed, because, but in a good way, because they think that the tennis or the sport is always in their mind. If they go out for dinner, they know that they have to eat something because then the day after they have to practice. If there is a match on TV, they want to watch that match because they want to improve and watch all the other players what they're doing. I think in some ways to be obsessed with the sport that you are doing is something helpful. And for me it was like this. I think that I love so much tennis that for me was not difficult sometimes to skip holidays with the friends or watch a match on TV, or when you go out for dinner, try to come back earlier because the day after you need to practice. I think that few things are so important that you need to be ready to sacrifice. And the sport is always teaching you how to sacrifice if you have some good goal to reach.
Yeah, and that makes it worth it. So you also played matches against all of the big four, Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, and Murray, and you even took sets off of them. Whenever you were going up against them and you stepped on court, was the feeling different than your average match, or were you able to detach from the hype of them and just treat it like any other tennis match?
Of course, it's a little bit different to play against them. First of all, for the atmosphere, when you step on court against them, really the atmosphere is something special. I think that is what you dream, because really the stadium are packed, people are crazy, they want to watch them, and I always love to play with full stadium, doesn't matter if they are with you or against you. And I was lucky also to play Nadal in Rome, when the people were half and half, because when Rafa is on court, there is always some people that they want to they are for him, and it's normal. But when you step on court with this kind of guy, you always learn something. I think that they always respect the opponent, and I think that something that they always did very well, because I have to say that I have few good battles against them, but I also lost some pretty easy matches against them, and they were always nice, and they never treat you like in a different ways. But of course, that's the best atmosphere, and I think I was lucky to play against all of them, and I learned a lot from all of them. I think everyone was in different ways completely a different opponent, but they're all really unbelievable players.
Yeah, so I actually just the other day was watching the YouTube videos of whenever you played Nadal in Rome. Was that 2011?
Yeah, it was 2011, and
Yeah.
the nice things that the year that I was supposed to have wildcard, but then another friend of mine, Cipolla, beat Roddick in Madrid. So then I didn't get wildcard, and I played quali Rome. But I have to say that I was lucky, because then I won the quali. I beat Bellucci, that in that year was 22 in the world, and then I played center court against Rafa. In that moment, I was not even I was close to top 100. So for me, it was the first time in a big stadium, and really was something special, because I went on court and my idea was at the beginning, okay, Nadal was #1 in the world, the king of clay. So I said, okay, my goal is at least try to do 1 or 2 games for set, because I'm playing in Italy. I don't want to play a really bad match. At least I have all my friends, my family. So let's go and try. Then I started to win 1, 2, 3, 4 games. Then I went to the tie-break. I won the first set, and until the middle of the second, the match was pretty close. So it was nice, because at the beginning, all the people cheering for me. Then at the end of the second set, it was like half and half, because they like almost thinking that Nadal can lose that match. And so that was something that I always remember. And then, of course, third set, Rafa was kill me. But for me, that one was the first match where I had the feeling that I can play really against the top player. After that match was the first step that bring me top 50 in the world. Was really, for me, was, I think, one of the most important match of my career.
Wow. I mean, the atmosphere looked electric. I had chills just watching the highlights. How did you hold your nerves to close out that first set and win it?
I think that for me was the first time, so I don't even thought about that. I play Nadal and all these kind of things. For me, it was like playing point by point, try to do my best. I have all the people cheering for me. That atmosphere, like you said, was electric. So what helped me was that I was not even thinking. I was just playing tennis. Then, of course, when you get close at the second set and you start thinking, you just slow down a little bit, and then Rafa was ready to take the match over. But really, was something that I remember. And to play Nadal, that kind of match in Italy, was something special.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. So shifting gears a bit, in a general aspect, what do you think is the main difference between the players that are 50 to 100 versus the ones that are 25 and above consistently, like top 25?
I think that, of course, the big difference between the top players, like top 20, like you say, the top 25, that they are, it's like it's not that they cannot lose against a guy 70, 80 in the world, but the big difference is they do more results during the year. When you are like 60, 70 in the world, usually during the year you make 2, 3 good results, but then you lose 5, 6 times first round, then you play another good tournaments, then you start again losing matches that you can win. I think the difference is that guy top 25 in the world, they don't lose not so many matches when they are favorite to win that kind of matches. When they have to win, they win their matches. They can lose 1 or 2 easy matches, but for the rest of the year they play really good, and then they do also the big result. I think that's the difference. Their continuity during the year is much better than the other one.
Yeah, that's great. I get asked that question a lot, so I was really curious to see your answer since, you've been there. I'm also curious, what was one of the biggest challenges throughout your career?
Okay, I had a lot, because I become late, top 100. I think that the toughest problem for me, and now is an easy one, was the food. I'm Italian, so I love good food, and I travel a lot because thing that I started the year when I was during, I don't know, 26, 27 of December, like every kind of player. But then I came back to Italy in April because I tried to play then Australia, South America, then India, Wales, Miami, and then coming back in April. And then I was ready to travel a lot. And I think the food was the most difficult part. And of course, I think the other big problem for us like tennis players is to bring always the coach with you. I think that's the difficult part, because if you want to have your coach, they also need a part where they're going to stay with the family, because the coach cannot stay with you for 10, 12 weeks in a row, cannot do that. Also the fitness coach, I think that is too much. So for me, how I was trying to handle it is to have it for 2-3 weeks for the big one, the weeks that I think are more important, and then I try to give them some rest, because I think that also the coach and the fitness coach, they need rest to give you 100%. Sometimes the players think that they need to stay with the coach every week of the year, but I don't think that also for the coach is easy. So I think that's also a toughest part, because to me, I didn't like to come back to Italy for practice. So I think that this one was the most difficult thing to handle when I was traveling a lot.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And now that I've been in coaching for a while, I definitely understand that answer a lot more. And you're right, burnout, just like for players, coaches can get it too. And you want your coach to always be able to give that 100%. So it is really important.
But I think when they ask you to stay, I don't know, 6 weeks in a row and then 8 weeks in a row, it's not easy for you. And also I think that the coach, then I'm not saying that you get boring, but it's tough to give every day 100% if you stay out. No, if you stay out like 3-4 weeks in a row. I think sometimes you need to rest a little bit, and then you're ready again to give 100% to your player.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go all the way back to the beginning for a moment. I want to know more about how you became the player and the person that you became. So tell me, what was your childhood like growing up, and how did you get involved in tennis?
I have a brother that is 3 years older than me. When he was young, he started playing tennis and swimming. So then, of course, I was the second one. I followed him, and I started with tennis and swimming. Then I was lucky. Then he stopped swimming and he started playing only tennis. So he started to play tournaments under 10 years old, under 12. And my mother that brought him to the tournaments, I went with them and I started to play with the wall. Then when he did tennis lessons, they let me play the last 10, sometimes 15 minutes. So I started to play because my goal was to play with him, because he was older. So I watched him, and my goal was, come on, I want to play with him. It's impossible. He doesn't want to play with me. So that's why I started to play tennis. And then he was unlucky because he get surgery when he was 16 years old, elbow surgery. So he stopped play tennis, and then I continued, and then I still take joke with him. But the good thing that one time I brought him, because he lives in London, I brought him in Wimbledon, and he warming up actually before a match. So I also have some good memories.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm curious, were you homeschooled or did you attend regular school?
Actually, for the first 4 years, I went to a normal school. Then for the last years, they called me, the federation called me, so I made private. And then I started the university. I started with medicine. My idea was, if I didn't become a pro tennis player, my idea was to become a doctor, a sports doctor.
Wow.
So I made some exams, but then was impossible, because when you do medicine, you need to do the lesson, you need to be in person, and then of course I stopped it. But I was likely to become a pro. But my okay, if I didn't become a tennis pro, my idea was to become a sport doctor.
Wow, that's a very different path than the average tennis player of your level. So what age were you whenever you were studying medicine?
Actually, I stopped studying when I was 22, 23 years old. Until that age, I tried, because I had the university in my home city, so I had the chance to sign for the lesson and all these kind of things. Wow. So I made like 7 exams, and but then I have to stop, because for the next lesson you have to sign day by day, and for me it was impossible to play in tournaments and to do that. And I continued to pay the taxes until I was 30 years old, because my idea was maybe one day I'm gonna stop, and then maybe I come back to study. But then of course I stopped playing tennis when I was almost 40, so it was impossible to coming back and doing.
So you kind of always had that plan B in your mind then, up till 30, whenever you stopped like kind of preparing for it.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a plan B opposite of what you are doing, because I want to have a plan B, because if I had the idea to stop when I was 28 years old, if I want to be a coach, I want that one has to be a choice. I don't want to be a coach because it's the only thing that I can do. If I want to be a coach at 20 years old, okay. But if this is not what I want to do, I prefer to do something, to coming back, studying medicine. That's why I always had this plan B. Then, of course, I became a pro. I was top 100 in the world. I knew that in that moment also being a coach was a choice for me. So I stopped to have this plan B.
That's really cool. And that's different. Again, it's different from a lot of people's mindset. So going back to your junior career, you didn't play the typical junior circuit that most. To me, what your junior tennis path was like and why that worked for you.
That's true, because when I was young, I wasn't really good. I have to say that when I played the under 14 Italian Championship, at the 3rd round, I lost 6-0, 6-0. So
no
if you think about that, and I'm still thinking about that, then now you have some parents that if you lose 6-0, 6-0 when you're under 14, they think, of course, this guy is not going to play.
They're like, my kid's done.
Yeah, there is no chance that this kid is going to be a pro. But then 25 years later, I know that the guy that I lost, he never had 1 ATP points, and then I was top 50 in the world. So sometimes I don't believe that the junior tournament are really important unless you are an impressive junior, like a top 10 in the world or top 15. Then you're really good, and it's helping you for the sponsor, that you start to understand the slams. But for the other one, sometimes you start to playing this Grand Slam, and you think that you are already in a good path, and you're not thinking that you have to work really hard then to become a pro. Yeah. So I don't know if it's always a good thing if you're not like an unbelievable tennis player. So I was not good enough. I didn't play the junior. I played the normal Italian Championship, but no age. The normal ranking that we had in Italy in that period is like an UTR ranking. So I went to play this tournament, and I played with a guy that was, I don't know, 30, 35 years old. Someone was 20. I was 15, 16. And I have to say that at the end of my career, the problem that I had in that moment is the same problem that I had then when I played the big tournaments. Because I was 16 years old, and I played with some guy that were 30 years old and have huge serve. Someone has a good slice. Someone was running. Someone went to the net. And at the end was another level. But the problem that I had was the same. I had big player with huge serve and someone that went more at the net. I think that for me, that was really, really important, the kind of tournament. And I was lucky to play that tournament and not the junior.
Yeah. Was there a person who was instrumental in your career who was kind of in your ear telling you like, hey, you can keep going, you can make it if you want to?
In this case, I have to thank my parents because I think my mom traveled a lot with me when I was young. She always, of course, brought me at the tournaments, and you know that this one I think is the biggest problem for tennis because you always need your parents. It's not like soccer in Italy that there is a bus that pick up you and bring you to the match. You need your parents. And the other important thing that they never told me, okay, now you have to study, you have to stop playing tennis, because they saw that I was trying my best. And I think that I deserve this chance to try to be a tennis player. But I think I have to thank them a lot to never ask me to stop or to do a step back.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, you ended up having an incredible career with so many incredible moments, even in the last couple of years on tour. And I want to dive into that for a moment. At the 2019 US Open, you lost in the final round of qualifying, but got into the main draw as a lucky loser. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. Then you went on to win 2 straight 5-set matches to reach round 3. And the icing on the cake, you were 37 whenever you did that. Can you take me back to that moment and describe what it was like losing in qualifying, getting into the tournament as a lucky loser, then winning 2 5-set matches?
I think that that year was the last year in New York. I always have a special feeling with New York because I have to tell you that in one moment I had not a good record because for the first 13 Grand Slam I lost first round.
Wow.
And the main draw, I'm talking about main draw, and the first ever match that I won in a Grand Slam was in New York. So that for me was a big memory because, of course, I never won a match there. Then I made one time 4th round. And that year, I played pretty good. I arrived in New York. I lost last round quali, 7-5 in the 3rd. Big match against Jiri Vesely. That also was a former top 50 players. And the day after, I was doing an exhibition with Matteo Berrettini.
Wow.
And after they finished that exhibition, they called me, and of course you get in, so you're gonna be main draw. And then I played an American wildcard, Svajda, that was a young one. He won I think there is a junior tournament that you can get a
Kalamazoo, he won.
For New York, and of course everyone thought that was a good chance, but a lot of people also start asking me how you can play with a guy that is 20 years younger than you.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I never think about this, because for me it was just important to go on court and try my best. I think that he played better than me because it was 2 sets to love. But the good thing that I just try, like I say, was not of my best matches, but I tried to stay there until the end to try to win the match. I never thought during the match that he was younger than me, that he can beat me. I was just there, keep going. I won the 4th set at the tieback, and then I won 5 sets. And really was hot, was a long match.
Whenever you were down to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was 2 sets to love, and then I was lucky because that match was really tough. So of course during the slam you have 1 day off, but in that case I have 2 days off because rain. Oh. So before play Kekmanovic, and I had 48 hours. I think that one helped me a lot. So then I played Kekmanovic. In that moment also he was top 50 in the world. He was one of the best younger players, and I think that this one was the last really good match that I played in my career, because 2019, 2020, I didn't play many good matches. This one was one of the best. I think it was a tough one. It was more than 4 hours. And then, because of the rain, the day after, I play against Wawrinka. So then was tough. I remember that night was tough to sleep, was not tough to be ready to play Wawrinka. And then the day after, I played Wawrinka and actually had one set point in the second set because I lost 7-4, 6-4, 7-6, 7-6. I had one set point. I played good matches. And actually, I was surprised that at 37 years old, after more than 4 hours matches, I was ready to play another 3 sets.
Yeah. How did you physically recover whenever you only had like no time pretty much when you had to play the very next day?
I have to say that that was the last year that I was pretty fit because at the beginning of the year I had a big injury. I broke my fascia. So for all the year I cannot do fitness. I only did playing tennis. So for the rest of the year I was still pretty fit. From the 2020, I started to have problems because, of course, I stopped to do fitness in March 2019. So until September, October, I was still fit and I can recover pretty fast because, like I told you, I practiced a lot for the last 10 years. And that's why I think that New York that year was the last moment that I was again 100%. And I have to say also that I was lucky physically because I finished my career that I broke my fascia, but was the only big injury that I had. And right now I spoke with a lot of players that they are 21, 22. They already get surgery. They had a lot of problems. Of course, I was lucky because I practiced a lot and I never had big injury.
Yeah. No, it does. That is very fortunate. But I'm sure along the way, you also had the right mindset. And it seems like you were really taking care of yourself, listening when you needed the rest to not get the burnout as well.
I think that I was one that I started to travel with my coach, with my fitness coach. I traveled a lot with my fitness coach because my coach cannot travel too much. So I use him a lot. And I think it was important because 15 years ago, not every players travel with the fitness coach. And I checked what I was eating at the restaurant. I was taking care a lot of my body. And I think that one was helping me to get in play until I was 40 years old. Because I always remember that I stopped when I was 2021. And after 2 months, I get 40. So I think that 50% I was lucky about my body, and for the rest, I think I taken care of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Going back for a moment to whenever you said you were down 2 sets to love, what do you tell yourself when you're down 2 sets in a 5-set match?
I think that's the experience. I spoke actually with some Italian players that they asked me what I have to do when they play 5 sets matches. And the problem is that when you start playing that kind of matches, at least for me at the beginning of my career, I always lost the matches because you start slow, you think, okay, I cannot go 100% because then I cannot get until the end. If then I have to play 5 sets, I get tired. So you have a lot of problems at the beginning. And at the end of my career, I always won all my matches at the 5th set. I always won on Davis Cup. I always won all the matches that I went 5 sets. And a lot of this helping you is the experience. That day I started from the beginning to play full as much as I can. So of course I had a lot of problems at the beginning in the first 2 sets. But what is happening? And you know, because you played pro, that you have 1 set to try to get on court and to play better. 1 set is not enough. Then you have another set. You are 2 sets down, but you are playing better than at the beginning of the match. And then I think helping me a lot because for I knew that if you keep going, if you have a positive mentality during the match, you can start playing a bad match, but you can finish playing a good tennis. And this one you know and you understand all with experience.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fan question here. Someone from Instagram has asked, if you were to go back and change one thing about your career, what would it be?
Of course, if you ask me like this, is to change and to have my coach that brought me top 100, to have him when I was 20 or 21 years old, and to have that team that I had with me for 12 years from the beginning. But then if I think about that, I don't know if I was ready, because at 27 years old, I was ready to have a coach that can travel with me only 7-8 weeks in a year, that I have the chance to use a fitness coach. I had actually your father, Pat Harrison, when I came here
Shout out, Dad.
to the academy, to the MG, that he helped me. So maybe when, like we talked before, I was 21 years old and I want that coach for every week during the year. Then I had a good coach when I'm 27, 30, and I know that I can give him 2 weeks to stay home with the family, and I can practice with Pat, or then I can have the fitness coach with me. And then, so I don't know, because sometimes maybe I was not ready and I was not taking the chance. So I think
it's so hard to say.
It's hard to say, because if you ask me how was my career, I have to say that I think I'm right now that my best ranking was 33, and I had the chance to do a little bit more, but I think that I made at least 90% of the maximum that I can do. So I think it's a lot, because when I speak with a lot of players, they think that they made, I don't know, 40-50%, and to have thinking that you made 90%, I think is a good goal that I achieved.
Yeah, that's such an interesting way to look at it. That's really good perspective. When you retired, what were all of the factors that decision?
And I took that decision because I think that my body was not good enough to playing high-level tennis. I think that the player feel it. Actually, I made a good pre-season 4-5 weeks. Then I stepped back from Australia, and I did some fitness here in Florida, and I get a calf injury that I stopped for 3 weeks. I had the stretch. I cannot even walk, and in that moment, I knew that my body was not ready to give me 100%. So I just want to finish that year to say hello to some, of course, tournament director and some tournament that I played all over the year. But I knew that 2021 cannot be one of my best season. And I decided to stop in New York, because it was the tournament that I felt more. And actually, when I stopped, I was still under 40, under 50 in the world. My wife didn't believe that I stopped to play tennis. Actually, she didn't come to New York, because she thought that then I was going to play in the Wells, because the day after COVID was in October. But I said, no, I want to stop in New York. So I went back home, and she thought I was coming back practice. And I said, no. New York was my last tournament.
You're kidding.
Yeah, she didn't come. That was really, I always take joke of it and said, come on, you didn't
so
believe
funny.
me that. Johnny, my friend here from Florida, came because I told him that was my last tournament. But I always have to say thanks to my wife, because the last 2 years of my career, I started working on TV, commentating matches. At the beginning, I didn't want to do that, because I was still top 100 in the world. She convinced me to do that. So when I stopped playing tennis, I had also this option, and I'm always gonna be thankful to her to convince me to do that when I'm still playing.
She knew before you did.
No, she knew that I didn't stop tennis because I love this sport so much that I have to have something to do with tennis because my passion was too much. So she knows that I want to continue in tennis, and I think that TV was a good option.
Yeah. I know for a lot of players, whenever they stop playing, it can be really, really difficult to stop doing what you've been doing for decades, even physically. Did that help you a lot, or was it still pretty difficult whenever you stopped playing?
I think don't ask me why, but from 2020 to 2011, I already decided my last year on tour was 2020.
Wow.
And I have always had my idea to finish with the Olympic of 2020. Then, of course, we had COVID. I didn't have any more the ranking on 2021 to finish with the Olympics and all these kind of things. But in my mind, it was always to finish on 2020. And my perspectives were always to have the idea that I was lucky that I played until 39 years old because I didn't have, like I told you, I didn't have injuries. I enjoyed playing tennis for such a long time. So I was ready to do this step. And I don't know, maybe I was prepared more than other tennis players because for sure it's a tough moment. But for me, it was not as traumatic like other players.
Yeah. Last couple years on tour, how did you fall into the roles as tournament directors for ATP World Tour Finals and for the Rome Masters 1000?
Actually, I start to work with I stopped playing tennis. I work for TV, and the federation asked me to take care of the over 18 at the beginning. Then after 2 months, not
As a
even 2 months,
coach, you mean?
I like coach, yeah, to take
Okay.
care of all the over 18 in Italy, to bring them from the junior to become pro. Then after a couple of months, the president of the federation with the other, there was tournament director in Rome before me, Sergio Palmieri, they called me and they asked me if it was an idea for me to be tournament director of Rome. And of course, like maybe you know me, so I like to try new things. So whenever they ask me, okay, do you want to do this? And say, of course, I want to try. It's completely different of what I was doing, coaching or TV. So I say, I'm ready. I'm going to take 1 or 2 years trying to work like vice tournament director. And I was in Italy about 20 weeks a year to trying to do that, to follow the meetings, to check how it was tournament. And then from last year, they called me and they asked me if I was ready to take the place. And of course, I always like to do new things, new roles, and I tried. And I think this year was a challenge, but I love it.
What's something that you've learned now working like on this side of tennis from whenever before you were a player, something that you didn't know?
Oh, unfortunately, I didn't know all these kind of things when I played, because now you start understand that there are more problems that you have to think about. But when you are a player, of course, you also have to be more selfish because you have to think about yourself. You have to be the guy that step on courts. And right now, I'm not only taking care of one place, but I have to take care of all the players. They have to be, everyone have to be the same, men's, women's, the doubles, singles. So I think this part is not easy because every player thinks that is more important than the other one. But also I think that if you were a pro or a tennis player, you know better the mentality, and I think you can explain to the players why you are taking some decision, because I think that the players are smarter than more people think, that if you can explain them in the right way why you take some decision, I think they understand. Of course, sometimes they don't agree, and I respect that, but they always, I think you can have a good relationship with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure they appreciate that too, hearing it from the perspective of, hey, I've been in your shoes. I know what you're thinking and I get it, but here's why we're doing this.
Yeah, and I think it's important because you always have to explain them. If you explain something, I think that they're ready to accept some decision. And of course, you not everyone can be happy, but you know, they have to know that you're trying also here your best and to help as many players you can. And
Yeah.
of course, someone is going to be pissed at the end of the day. I understand that. And I'm starting to accept that. But it is not easy when you
That's
try
hard.
to help everyone. But of course, it's part of the job.
Yeah. So what does your day-to-day life look like in those tournament director roles? Like what's a day in the life on the job?
Of course, it's very different when you're getting closer to the event, because when you're getting close to the event, you start really early in the morning, like 7 in the morning, 7:30, and you finish midnight, because really you need to take care of everything, and they're gonna have always small issue. You need that everything has to be ready for the players, from I don't know, hotel, transportation, players welcome, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
The site has to be ready, the gym. Then during the events, really is almost all day. The 2 weeks are really tough. But then during the year is more relationship with the players, with ATP, with WTA, and taking care of all the things that you have to. And also you have to think that right now in Italy we are lucky because we have also the ATP finals. We have the group stage of Davis Cup. We have a really good team of Billie Jean King Cup. We have a lot of challenger. We have a lot of under 25K women. So like federation, we are taking care of all these kind of things, and the goal is to bring as much as good tennis players as we can. And I think in the last year we are doing a great job.
Yeah. World wants to know right now. With 9 out of the current top 100 ATP players being from Italy, and with Paolini winning Wimbledon on the women's side, what has sparked the rise of Italian tennis lately? Is something in you guys' water?
I think that the federation actually made a great job, and this job started many years ago, because I remember when I started to play, like 20, 25 years old, we start to have a lot of challenger and future. So at the end of the year in Italy, you have like 25 challenger, you have more than 30 future, you have a lot of women tournaments, and at the end of the year, thing that is not only the wild card that you are give to the Italian players, because the federation normally own all the wild cards, so all these wild cards go to Italian players. But the other thing is that a lot of good coaches, like from the States, from South America, from all over the world, they go in Italy, and all the coaches that are bringing the players to the tournament, they can learn from them. They can learn new things, and the level of the tennis coach in Italy and for the players is going up, because you know that they can watch how the big player worked, and now we started to have a lot of players. The the only thing that people has to know is not that, okay, tomorrow, next year, you're going to start doing 30 challenge and you're going to have top 100 players in a couple of years. This work started 25 years ago, and now we start to have the results.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do you think that the Italian culture and just like Italian mindset has anything to do with it, and just that willingness to learn?
I don't know. uh, maybe also the Italian mindset made something special, because I think what we are really good in Italy is that if you watch playing the tennis players, the Italian tennis players are all completely different. Just watch the best three men's. You have Sinner, Musetti, and Berrettini. They are all completely different kind of players. And I think in this one, the Italian tennis coach are really good on trying on get the best of every players. You know, if you have the in the States, if you watch the school, all the big players, they have unbelievable serve, they have huge forehand, and they almost play in the same way. In Italy, it's not like this. So I think this one is part of the culture that help us to have a lot of good players.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Winding down to our last couple of questions here. What advice can you give to any players have the game for it, they haven't yet through, and they aren't sure if it's worth pursuing and going after?
Oh, I lost the question. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It did kind of freeze there. I'm gonna just ask the same question again. So I said we're winding down to our last couple of questions here. What advice can you give to any players out there who really want to make a career out of professional tennis and they have the game for it, but they haven't broken through yet and they're not sure if it's worth pursuing more and going after?
I have to say that the first thing is to believe, because many times people think that they have to stop, maybe they have to become coach. I'm always saying that you have to try until the end. If you still believe that you can become a top tennis player, you have to try 100%. The advice that I always give them is try 100%. So don't stay there for 3-4 years and doing a mix, like a little bit playing, a little bit coaching, a little bit, I don't know, going out with friends. If you want to try, just do it and don't give a time. I don't know, okay, if I'm not doing that in 1 year, I'm going to stop tennis, because this one is giving you a lot of pressure. I think that you have to go try 100%, I think, until you can believe that you can do that, and you have to feeling to give the 100%. I always think and believe that the player inside himself knows if he's going 100% or not. So if you cannot do that, you can stop right now. But if you believe that you can give everything you can playing tennis, just try, because really is you think there is a big step, but the difference to become pro really can be a small one, can be 1 or 2 good weeks, and then your life can change.
Yeah, that's such great advice again. So, in addition to your new tennis jobs, you also have a new job, what I can only imagine is the best job in the world. You recently became a father to a beautiful baby girl. Now that she's arrived, what is it like being a dad?
That's that is changing your view completely, and of course, because you hope the best for her, and your priority is gonna be the baby, and that's always, no, you dream for her the best. The only thing that I would love to teach her is what we are talking about literally 30 seconds ago. Whatever she want to do, that I don't know if it's going to be sports, studying, or whatever, just try your best every day, put some goal for your life, and do your best to reach that goal. I don't know if then you're gonna get there, but I'm always saying that if in my career I didn't become a top 100 players, I always had anyway some good memory when I played challenger, when I was trying to be a tennis player, because I try my best. So I hope for the same, and for everyone else that have some big goals to reach.
That's amazing. Paolo, how can people find you on either social media, or I don't know if you have a website, but how can people find you and keep up with your career and your life?
No, of course I have Instagram. I'm not really big on social media because I'm still like a lot my privacy. But of course, you can follow me, and I hope I hope that a lot of people is gonna follow you because I think you're doing a great job. I actually follow you, and you are bring to the people the tennis life, tennis coach. You are trying to bring them to let them know part of the tennis life that people doesn't know, and I think it's important. I think you're making a great job, and if I have to say something, keep continuing doing this because I love to watch all your things and what you're bringing not only to tennis but to the people. And I think it's important because you was a pro tennis player, and it's not easy to to teach all these kind of things, and you're doing that. So keep going.
Thank you so much. That means so much, especially coming from you. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening tonight. And thank you for being a guest on Beyond the Match.
And of course, I'm be ready to be your guest again, maybe next year, in a couple of years.
Yes.
I don't know.
Season 2.
That's a new goal.
Yes. Every year we got to do it. Thank you, Paolo.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for listening to Beyond the Match. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at beyondthematch@outlook.com. We're available anywhere you listen to podcasts, and I do mean anywhere. Please also be sure to follow us on Instagram at Beyond the Match Podcast, and look for exclusive content from our episodes only found on our YouTube pages. Until next time, thank you for listening, and I will see you on the courts.
Metacortex Publishing hopes that you've enjoyed this presentation.
Please take a moment to listen to some other podcast offerings from Metacortex Publishing.
A quest is a search for something. And every week, the Quest podcast will show you how we know what we know through interviews with people that have incredible stories of dedication and perseverance. I'm your host, Todd Fisher. Join me in this thought-provoking and inspiring podcast of discovery. Find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
The Danceology podcast interviews the great masters of dance, the working professionals starring in today's most exciting shows, and the rising stars ready to amp up the craft. I'm your host, Edyta Stawinska from Dancing with the Stars. Join me as I dive into the world of dance, uncovering unique stories and the fascinating personalities of industry professionals on Danceology.
Cult Following is a podcast that studies the personalities and common traits of cult leaders and their followers. Get the real story behind these infamous and oftentimes tragic cults from a new perspective, through exhaustive research and from interviews with people that were there. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
The No Earthly Explanation podcast investigates the things that are unexplainable, hosted by world-renowned investigative researcher Donald R. Schmidt and scientist Ellie Ringo. Follow them as they look for evidence for things that have no earthly explanation. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. This podcast is produced by Todd Fisher and Anthony Smith and is distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright. Any previously trademarked or copyright content is used by permission. Information and opinions stated in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Please be sure to visit the official website for Metacortex Publishing at metacortexpublishing.com or find us on social media for other unique content.